Hey everybody, Jared Morgan from Morgan Media here. Today I want to go over with you my workflow for Symphony recordings, how I deal with all my ISO cams, setting up the project, importing footage, all that kind of thing. What I don't want to go over, this is not a video on how to edit. That topic has been covered online, so we're not going to get into the nitty gritty of how to edit, but this is more about the workflow. So let's get started. All right, we're in Premiere. And first thing I need to do is get some footage in here. So I am going to just reveal this in Finder because I've already got this project set up here. So here we go. This is all the footage as I brought it in from the cards. So we have our audio folder, credit renders. This is deck 1, this is deck 2. This is the backup deck. Let's start by one at a time bringing these into Premiere. So I'm going to grab the folder in here. And I'm going to organize this here in just a second. So let's grab green 1. And it's probably going to yell at us. Yep, sure is. Okay, that's good. And I'm going to grab green 2. Great. And now we're going to put this in a footage folder. And this in here. Okay, now let's take a look at what we got. Yep. All right. So the first thing we want to do now, other than save, is we want to create a multicam. Now, I had the luxury of having my decks sync together with timecode. They're not. It's what's called jam synced, so it's kind of accurate, but not really, but it'll be good enough to get us there. So on this, we've got the way my deck is set up. These are takes, so these folders. This is input 1, 2, 3, 4, and then down here we got 5, 6, 7, 8. I can tell that the time code here on this, see this is like 0449, and then 0449 down here, so that's a take that, those takes go together. So what I'm going to do, this first one is just, I think it was just a test record, or it's just talking, so whatever, we don't need that. Let's start here. Okay, concert master, so that's at 050837. So I could just look down here for something that matches. So I'm going to select these. Now the order I select them in is important because that's the order it's going to put them in the timeline. So remember that. So now I'm going to say create multicam source sequence. I'm going to say based on time code. I'm not going to name this yet because I'm going to rename it and it doesn't seem to matter anyway. I'm going to say OK. Okay, I just noticed a little bug. There was an error dialog that I just dismissed. For some reason, my last input is starting at 0 on timecode. That doesn't seem to make any sense because they all come from the same deck. So I don't know. We'll figure that out. So what first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label this multi, and then the name of whatever it is. So this was Masterworks 3, so I'll just call it Masterworks 3. Okay, great. So I'm going to put this in my footage bin because I'm going to be treating it like a piece of footage. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this and say open in timeline. And even though, let me think here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so it didn't put the last input, which is this one. This is actually program. So I'm just going to manually put this in here because, I mean, I know the duration's the same. So I'm just going to add tracks. We're going to add one of this. Okay, I'm going to target this, put this down here. Okay, great. I'm going to go to the beginning, and I'm going to clear my ins and outs and hit that and put it in there. All right, so now also what I'm going to do is grab the audio for this. We're going to find this in Finder, and it looks like, okay, he gave us all the individual tracks. We'll figure this out in a minute, so we'll come back to that. So let's just roll with, this was the same audio that I was getting from the audio engineer, the stuff here. So we could just roll with that. Typically, if I get something from the audio engineer, I'll just replace it because I'd rather have his WAV file than what was coming to me over XLR and patched in. And, 99% people wouldn't notice, but the client notices, and that's enough reason for me. If they notice, then we'll replace it and we'll make it better. What I want to do is make my multicam sequence, match the time code of the footage. And so as you can see here, it took the time code of the sequence, but what you could do is if I match frame back to the beginning, and I can see that this is 050837, you could just come in here and you go to this, where is it? Here you go to start time, and then you could just enter the time here. And the reason this is important is because later on I'll be able to just start typing time codes in or matching things up and finding precise points to get things to drop into the sequence. And so that'll come in handy later. Okay, so what happened here on the right side of the deck, because the Shogun I have like has 4 on the left and 4 on the right. It looks like the right part of the deck stopped. So why? So we'll go to here, and it looks like it picked up on 051415. And so now we can see why this is important here, because if I just click on this and I type 05141500, boom, now I mark in. Now what I'm going to do is drop these guys in here. So I know that this first angle is going to go here, and I'm going to be exactly precise with an endpoint, and I'm going to say overwrite. And then same thing here. All right. That looks like, let's see, how long is that? That's, all right, so this is only what? 15 minutes of footage, so that can't be the entire show. So what happens next? So we could fix this. We just got to think time code wise here. So there's a couple numbers we need to remember. So the first one is going to be this 050837. Because what we're going to do is we're going to slide all this over to that new time code, but we're going to change the start time code. So let's make the start time code, let's make it this one, 044932. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to say start time code, and I'm going to match this one right here, 04493200. Okay, and that's not right. Let's try it again. 04493200. There we go. Okay, great. So what we need to do is get that number that we previously had. I already forget it, so what we're going to do is I'm going to match frame, and here it is. This is the beginning of the time, so 050837. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type that same number here, because what I want to do is bring my cursor to that point. Okay, there it is. And I'm going to mark in, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up everything, and I'm just going to move it over to that time code. So now all of those clips start in time where we are in the timeline. And now what I'll be able to do is go back and put this other footage in this slot here, and we already know that this starts at 044932. So I can grab these clips right here, and we know that these go on 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to, I'll clear my in, I'll mark another one, and I'm coming back to 5, and I'm just going to start dropping them in like I did before. So boom. And you can see like it goes perfectly right up to the other one. Okay, we'll do this one. Oops, got to target it. 2. And go back to the beginning, mark in. Oh, did it again. Target, and the last one, and we'll target, boom, boom. Okay, and boom, there we go. So now we need to get these other angles in here as well. Now their time code starts a second later, so we're just gonna go to that moment in time. Okay, right mark in, and I'm gonna target the tracks 1. And the reason I'm targeting these tracks specifically is because I want my multicam to match. Later on, like I always want input 1 to be on track 1 so that it kind of makes sense. You can move them around. It doesn't really matter where you put them, but just for your sanity's sake, like you're going to want to see camera 1 in the same box every time. Okay, 2. I'm going to go back to the same endpoint. And actually you could see that it will, by nature, it's going to snap to it. So I really didn't even do anything. Target this track. 2, home, down, down for next edit. Boom, boom, 2, 3. I'm just clearing my in and out. Home, oops, home, down for next edit, and target, and click, and overwrite. Okay, so now we fixed our multicam problem. Now, you could continue on and go on with the rest of the show this way. I think that's most of the footage. You could lay in, I have this, the hyperdeck is the backup record here, so I could also lay that in as well. I don't want to say there's no point, but if for whatever reason the program record got wonky, I could always go to this. Actually, you know what? Let's lay this in because this is a good way for us to see if stuff is in sync. So we're gonna create one more track, and we'll do okay. And because you'll know right away if you look at the two program feeds and they're not cutting precisely exactly together, you know you got a problem. So let's look at the time code here. This is 04493205. Boom, 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 5. And let's drag this guy down here. Okay, boom, overwrite. Now you can see it's showing that my program decks kept going, so there's more footage to go in. But really, there's only one tune in here that we're going to work with today, and it's somewhere in here. This all looks great, except this is our hyperdeck, which is, it looks like it's somewhere like about, let's see, it's about a second off. I don't know why. I mean, it has something to do with the fact I said that I'm jam syncing time code. When you jam sync, would it be nice if everything was like perfect and frame accurate? It would be, but my equipment is not set up that way. Cutting corners in certain ways to save money elsewhere so we can spend in some other places. But, you know, it's not that big of a deal because the way I look at it, as long as I'm in the ballpark and I have audio, I can fix it. So like right now I'm going to fix this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give myself a little handle on the front here. And I'm going to go back to that. I'll go back to that point because it's a really easy thing to demonstrate. Now let's just take a look here. The way I can verify this is like, I'm going to mute all the tracks except for this and the first one, which they're all pretty much the same. Actually, let's do this. So track 8 and 9 are both program, okay? So if I play them together, I might hear some differences. Let's go to this hit. So like right here, all right, what goes on here? All right, so this starts way ahead of this, and we're only seeing this. We're only seeing the hyperdeck right now. So an easy fix to this is like we're hearing the Shogun, but we're seeing the hyperdeck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my link selection. This is one of the only times I ever use link selection. Because obviously I want to pick up the video and audio together. And you could just slide it if you want. And look, I just did, that's pretty good. That was just a chance. But another command I like is nudge. So this is just option left, right. Okay. Get in a little closer here. Let's put this over here. Okay. And let's see here. Boom. That's a lot of nudging, but there you go. So like, this all seems to be lining up now, and let's just take a look. Great. So I'm listening to the audio from the Shogun, but seeing the picture of the hyperdeck. So I can feel pretty good about that. I'm going to mute these guys. Actually, we'll leave this one on, because this is the audio that I want. Now, let's drop in the, let me think where we find it here. What I'm interested in is the tribute to Ukraine, and I think that's this piece. Okay, so where does that start here? Nice, okay. So let's grab the audio. Let me show you how I would put that in here. All right, so this is Masterworks 3 audio. Okay, here's the WAV file that the audio engineer gave me. We'll just grab this and put it in footage, audio. Okay, there it is. Now, I don't have any clicks or anything like that, or time code. We weren't linked. You know, in an ideal world, again, that would be great, but it's simple enough to just figure it out. So, okay, there's the first note right there. I'm just going to mark in, and I'm going to find the first note here. Right there. Okay. And I'm going to create another audio track underneath. Did it go underneath? It did? Okay. And this. And we're gonna, I'm gonna go to in, clear to in, and then mark in again, and now overwrite. Okay? And I can just grab the handle on the front end of that, just so we doesn't start right on it. And now let's see what we got. These waveforms looking pretty good. And what I'll probably do is keep the original and the new audio on at the same time and play them and see if I can hear anything, and then also look at the screen and see if I can actually see any sync issues. And what I might do is like solo back and forth to see if I'm hearing any like delay or like a ripple in the changing between the two. Right there, that sounds a little odd. Not. Maybe not. Okay. All right. So I feel good about that. Next step is I'm going to mute the deck audio and just roll with the wave audio. Now let's have a look. Now what I'm doing is I'm watching the fingers. I might skip ahead to some percussion because, or maybe the bow movement here. And I will say that this is important to have faith in your equipment. I feel confident about the way my computer's playing back stuff and the way my hardware is displaying stuff. So when I look at things, I can make a good decision about whether it's in sync or not. So this is something you'll have to figure out on your system. We're not going to go into hardware setup or anything like that right now. Again, plenty of videos on that. But having confidence in your system will help, because there's nothing worse than thinking something's in sync and then you publish it later and it's not when you watch it on your phone. So what I'm kind of looking for here is any kind of percussion hit. Trying to think if there is something in here. I think there is. Yeah, there's a timpani rolling right there. So yep, there, he just hit that. Watch him hit this percussion drum here, or this timpani. Boom. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for. I'm a French horn player, so French horns are easy for me. Here we go, this is good. What do we got here? All right, I feel good about that. Now, the nice thing about the way we have this set up is when we start editing, if something looks odd, we can just go back and nudge these clips any way we want. The other thing to mention is I know that my output for this is going to be stereo. So I've set up my sequence accordingly. It's important that if you say you brought in a bunch of stuff from like a C300 or some other kind of multi-track camera that might record like 4 channels of audio, by default, your sequence is then going to take 4 channels of audio. Why is this important? Because you're outputting a stereo track. And you want to verify that, at least in our case, for music is stereo. You know, if I was dealing with dialogue, that kind of thing would be different. So I'm going to verify number of channels 2. That's great. And so when I output this to a new sequence, the only thing I should be hearing, because everything else is muted, is this track right here, the track 10. So the easiest thing now to do is I'm going to save. And I'm going to clear my ins and outs. And now I'm going to take this multicam, and I'm just going to drag it onto new sequence, and I just created a new sequence based on the multicam. Now I'm going to do a little media management. So sequences. I spelled that wrong. Sequences. And now I'm going to put my sequence in the sequence folder. And let's see, now I'm going to double click this. Okay, we're already in it. And I'm going to delete all the tracks I don't need. Okay, and now I'm going to just enlarge this a little bit. Oh, it's a little too much. Come on. Okay, and now, okay, what I want to do right off the bat is set that time code again. It didn't carry the time code, so I'm going to match frame here. I see that the start time code is 044932. So I'm going to set my start time code of this sequence as well. As long as you keep, if you keep your time codes consistent as you move along, then any note that you have will reference the time code. It's super important, especially when you're talking to producers or directors. Then you can all be on the same language about the footage. 04493200. Boom. Okay, so now anywhere I go in this, it's going to match where we were in the footage and the multicam. Everything's good. I only have waveform right here because that's where I dropped the audio and everything else is muted. So really this is the part we're going to focus on right here. So first off the bat, I'm looking at these two angles because they are program and they should be locked together. There shouldn't be one frame difference. So far, so good. That looks good. Okay, I feel good about that. All right, so now, again, knowing that this is program, I'm just going to pick this camera. Now, let me talk about the way we had this set up. It looks like we have camera 1 is our operated camera. 2 is a wide. And then we got 3, 4, 5, 6 are PTZs. 7 is the conductor. And then 8 is program, and then this is backup program again. So the director has already predetermined all the shots that we need. So I could go back and re-edit this entire thing, but there's no need to. So it looks like we did a pretty good job here. Now let's just say, for instance, let's pick something here. Let's say right there I wanted to go to a wide shot or something, right? So I'm going to make an edit around our tune here because I don't want to do the whole thing. But what I can do is I can go in here and say scene edit detection. So apply a cut at each detected cut point. Now, what this is going to do is every time the camera cuts, it's going to add an edit in. Now, previously, I used to have to go in and make a cut. I used to have to make a cut on each cut, and it was like a manual thing. But once it does this, then we could really just go in and change anything we want. All right, it did its thing. This is roughly a 5-minute thing I selected, and it took, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes. So you do have to allow a little time, but the payoff is worth it. Now, it did make a bunch of audio edits down here because I had selected it, and I don't really like that. I kind of wanted to just do the video, so what I'm going to do is actually just delete all of this. This is easy fix. Boom. Oops. I'm going to what is this? Link selection, unlink selection. I'm going to select just the audio. I'm going to delete it and just drag it back over, and we're back in business. Now, let's say we were here. Let's see how it did. And every time program cuts, it should, boom, it made an edit. So now what's nice is that even though my director did a really great job, we can just go and click on any of these and re-edit however we see fit. guys picking up their trombones. Probably not the best call, but you know, you get the idea. This is a huge time saver, having to go in and manually, you know, before I used to have to go in and you go click on this and add edit, and then you'd go and find the other point and, you know, like this, and then made sure you got it, and then you would like add edit. So you don't have to do that anymore. This is really nice. I wish I had had this years ago. There, you can see here was like one of the camera pans, so we didn't take it live, but you know, you can actually see some of the PTZ stuff happening here. Whoosh. All right, so we got that set up. Now what I would do, my workflow is I would call this, I'd call this like, you know, V1, okay? So now we have all our edits. Imagine that the rest of the sequence has edits all the way down the line here, and this is exactly the way I want it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create a new sequence, and then I'm gonna put this in it. I'm not gonna duplicate it because I wanna nest it. So I could hit Apple D for duplicate, and that did what I just said. But what I want to do is nest. So I'm going to put this, I'm going to hit new sequence. Like, you drag the sequence to another sequence, and now it calls it the same thing. We got to make sure we call this V2. Boom. Okay, and I'm going to come in here. Actually, I'll leave all these. We might need some of those tracks here. So now this one, I want to be start on 0 because this is my actual show output. So I want my show to start at 0, and I'd want it to have, you know, from the client's perspective, they want the show to start at 0, not like at the time it actually happened. That kind of doesn't matter at this point. So for this one, like I said, I'm just going to focus on this piece here. So let's pick a good point to come in. We don't need concertmaster, okay. All right, so we want maestro coming out. We'll just pick it up right there, okay? Edit. And I'm gonna kind of slide this over to the beginning. We'll leave a little bit of space. Now, I might want to put, let's say I had like a show opener or something that would go in here. Actually, in this case, let's just pretend we're making something for social media, okay? So I'm going to, we'll just start right on the flute player, okay? Boom, right there. All right. And we're going to say select all tracks forward. Oops. Good. Okay. And we'll pick it out. Oh, you know what? We can turn this off. We don't need multicam anymore. Is this? All right, great. And we'll cut that off right there. All right, so first thing we're gonna need here, let's say this is like for social media or something. They're gonna want some kind of lower third or front end or something like that. I already pre-built a bunch of stuff in Essential Graphics. I can go over that some other time. That's a whole process, but I'll just open my Essential Graphics and I'm gonna look up my ASO stuff. So ASO. Okay, so I've got this, I call it Billboard, but it's, I don't know, whatever you want. I'm just going to put this on here, and it kind of gives us a starting template. Composers calls melody, or, no, they wanted the title up on the top there, so, all right, so we'll just do it the way they had it. Okay, so we'll call this melody. Just because it says composer doesn't mean you have to put it there. That's just how they wanted it. So, okay, and we're gonna put the composer's birth and death there. And what else? How did I do it on the other one? Let's see. All right, yeah, I had to go off before it cuts. Right there. So I'm going to back this up. And it's a little too quick, too close for me, so I'm just going to roll it back a little bit. You know, you could take that with the cut. You could have it go off after the cut. I mean, it's really up to you. It doesn't really matter. And then you could put an end tag on. You could just fade to black. In our case, let's just fade to black here. Okay, let's add a back end to this. I've got something I copied from another project. I'll just show you what this is here real quick. This is a transition that I created. It's just literally two boxes. There's like two colored blue boxes, and I get these colors from their style guide. And it's literally just two boxes moving together, so nothing crazy there. And then I've got just the color white, and then I've got their logo over it like that. And so what happens is it does that, junk. And so I'm just going to attach this to the back end here. I'll find a good point. Now in this case, it depends on what the client wants. Sometimes they want all the applause, and they might do bows and stuff. Okay, here they're not doing it. Sometimes Maestro likes to point out some folks, so you got to ask them what they want. So he nods, and then that's when I want to get off it. So I'm going to bring this over here, and then I'm going to fade this audio off underneath it. I'm going to add a cross dissolve, slide this over. And that'd be it right there. Probably cut it off. All right, so now it starts with, if I wanted to actually look at this in real time, I would just render it. Okay. Okay, I just noticed a mistake here, so let's see here. Right there, that camera goes out of focus. So we're going to work backwards. So right here, if I'm set up correctly, I can just double click. Sometimes I have to option double click, but either way, either option double click or double click, it essentially just steps into the nest. And it's going to put my cursor right where that exact moment is. And now I can bring up, let's see here. Okay, like right there, it goes out of focus. So I have a couple options. I can either find a completely new piece of footage, or I could just kind of slide my edit right when it starts to come out, and then see it goes to, this shot here. So now it's still on program, but why do I keep doing that? So this is this shot. So let's actually see if just changing to that is okay. It is. Great. So I feel better about that. You know, let's just kind of bang through this a little bit and see if... And I'll probably watch this in 2 or 3x speed because, you know, some of these symphony pieces are really long, and I'll watch the final output in real time, but it's up to you. I mean, I can see a camera swoosh in 2 and 3x speed, or if something's out of focus. Same thing. This camera was dancing a little bit. I remember this show. I'm okay with that. Great. Okay, cool. And at this point, I might watch this thing in real time. I'm not going to do that right now for you guys because you get the idea. But it might make sense to either watch it here in real time or output it and then watch it in real time, because sometimes watching it in QuickTime outside of Premiere, you might pick up on a couple things. I hope you found this video useful. Use timecode to your advantage. Don't be afraid to spend a few minutes on the front end setting up your project because it will save you down the road. If there's anything you want to deep dive on, leave it in the comments and we can talk about it, maybe even make a video in the future. Till then, happy editing and all the best.